Okay, we have solving word problems with variables on both sides, and I am trying some new things, so yes, you're going to see me down in the corner. I apologize, I cannot figure out how to get the clicking sound not to be so loud, so I apologize if that annoys you. Okay, so read this word problem. We have Pedro and Maria each opened a savings account on the same day, intending to withdraw the money for weekly expenses. Pedro opened his account with $710 and withdrew $35 per week, and Maria opened her account with $570 and withdrew $25 weekly. In how many weeks will their accounts be equal? So we want to know when they're going to be equal to each other. We can sit there and create a table, subtract each time, but there's going to be ways you can do it a little bit faster. But we want to reread this question. The first sentence doesn't really have any relevant information, so you don't need that. Okay, you see that they're opening the same day, they intend to withdraw money. Okay, that's fine, but there's nothing in there that you really need to solve the problem. So you want to look at, now I kind of just cross that out, so you don't have to look at that. You want to look at the next information. Pedro opened his account with $710 and withdrew $35 a week, and Maria opened her account with $570 and withdrew $25 a week. So, how many weeks will their accounts be equal? Well, what is the question that you need to answer? Well, you're right. It's how many weeks. So, create a variable. W would be great for this. You're going to see me create it with the X, though, and you're going to see why. But I'm fine with you doing W. It kind of makes sense, weeks. If we don't know what we call something, what do you call it? Well, there's your variable. I'm going to use X right now because I'm going to show you how to set up, but I'm fine with you using W. Now, what numbers go with the weeks? That's what you have to think about. We have two numbers that go with the X. Therefore, you have two equations. We also have two equations that we set them up equal to each other. So, think about $35 per week and $25 weekly. So, it's the same thing, it's just per week or weekly. And I want to bring your attention back to this slide, the mx plus b and equals mx plus b. Back when we were using slope-intercept form, remember the rate of change was your m, your slope, and your b is your starting point. So think about that in this scenario. What is the rate of change every single week that's being done with Pedro, what he's doing every week, and what Maria, how much she's withdrawing every week. And then also think about what they're starting with. So it might be a good idea to set it up like this because this is going to help us when we graph equations. The question asks when they're going to be equal, so we need to use an equal sign. So when will the accounts be equal? Then we need to think about, we first replace with the first m with 35 and the second m with 25. So that is our rate of change. Every week, Pedro is withdrawing 35 and Maria's withdrawing 25. Now think for a second here. I'm going to change this here in a moment. But also we got to think about with withdrawing, they're taking away money. So you need to have a negative on both of them. Now you could also rewrite this. Oh, hold on, I'm jumping ahead. We need to replace the B on Pedro's equation with his starting amount. The B is your, when we graphed it, there's your y-intercept. That's your initial value. So Pedro started with 710. Maria started with 570. Now, you could have written this 710 minus 35x and 570 minus 25x. Either way is fine. The reason I'm having you write it this way, just so then it'll make more sense when we start doing some graphing again. We now have an equation that you can solve. So you know you can add 35x to both sides. You could also add 25x to both sides. If you do it that way, you're going to get a negative 10x. But if you add 35x to both sides, then again, you're going to get your 710 equals 10x plus 570. When you move the variables to one side, you move the constants to the other. So since we move the variables to the right, we're going to move the constant to the left. So you're going to subtract 570 from both sides. And you get 140 equals 10. You know what to do next. You divide by 10. And then that's going to tell you how many weeks it's going to take to be equal. 14 weeks. So it's going to take us 14 weeks to make both of them equal to each other. Now, here's one you try, and you're going to have some ones that you're going to try on your own. So complete those, and then you may turn those in. It'd be a good idea to check your solution just to make sure it works and make sure it makes sense. Sometimes you're not going to have negative, you're not going to have a negative amount of weeks. You're not going to have a negative distance. So make sure your answer really does make sense. All right, good luck.